chime in. My name's Kathy Bogle. I help lead this class because I have a true belief that everybody is put in the church for a reason, and everybody should be serving because the church is made up of lots of different people with lots of different talents. There's no reason for anybody to do everything, but there's lots of reason for everybody to do something. So that's the reason I decided to work with this class, and I hope y'all will get something out of it. Stop me at any time if you have a comment, and we'll be happy to do what we can to relieve any fears of ministry, or because it always surprises me just how many people are afraid of the words ministry. I'm a little afraid of it right now because, as y'all, some of you might know, my son went forward over the weekend, Sunday morning, and said he wanted to be involved in a unique ministry. He was dedicating his life to ministry and wanted to be involved in a unique ministry, and that scared the daylights out of me. Yet I'm very proud of him. So I appreciate if y'all pray for him and his unique ministry and where that might take him. But we'll review real quickly. Last week we discussed what is ministry. Can anyone tell me that definition? On the tops of your pages last week.
Doing something whatever God gave you, to use whatever God gave you.
Right, using whatever God has given you to meet the needs of others while serving Him. So, that's what ministry is all about. And we talked a little bit about truly ministry is simply imitating Jesus. And if that's all we do with our life is imitate Jesus, then we're doing exactly what we need to be doing. So we talked about two different types of ministry. Do you remember those types?
Institutional and individual.
Institutional and individual. Institutional are the things like Sunday school, discipleship training, things that we're going to have no matter what. The nominating committee generally goes out and finds somebody to fill those positions. Individual ministries are something a little bit more personalized. It's where maybe somebody decides that they want to start, well, like our Blessed Beginnings, special blessings group, for pregnant mothers. That's something that somebody has decided to do as an individual. That individual leaves, that ministry might continue, it might not continue. There are several different ministries here. We have groups that meet with Spanish-speaking kids. They have decided to do that as on their own as individuals. They still use the resources of the church, they still use the church, different things, but it's a very individual type thing. We talked about the three needs, the three little areas of needs that we try to meet through ministry. Physical, emotional, and spiritual. All those have to be met through the ministry. If the ministry is not meeting at least one of those, a physical, emotional, or spiritual, then you don't need to be doing it. It's not a true ministry, it's just an activity. So anytime that we start a ministry here at First Baptist, we try to sit down and look at, is it meeting in a physical need? Are people needing that to be done for them physically? Or is it meeting an emotional need? Is it meeting their spiritual need? Is there something we can do to change it where it is meeting those needs now? So everything that we do here meets those, it has to fall into at least one of those, and preferably all three if possible. Physical needs have to be met first, though. You cannot meet somebody's spiritual needs when they're hungry or when they need something, so, physically. So we look at those three, we try to make sure it goes in there. The purpose of ministry and the priority of ministry, we went through, Cindy had lots of good Bible verses there for us, and I gave you homework. How many of you read 1 Corinthians 12? Great. 1 Corinthians 12 talks a lot about spiritual gifts. It talks about the body of Christ and how we're each a part of that body. So if you didn't get a chance to read it, or even if you did, you might want to reread it. Go ahead, 1 Corinthians 12, that whole chapter. It doesn't take very long to read. So Go ahead and try that this week. But we talked about being created for ministry, being saved for ministry, how we've been called into it, how we've been gifted and authorized and commanded to minister. You know, God He doesn't say, do this if you want to. Ministry is something He's commanded us to do. And then we talked about how we should dedicate our bodies and get rid of distractions and what we needed to do to prepare ourselves for ministry. Part of preparing ourselves is coming to this class, and I'm very thankful that y'all have decided to do that. So this week we're going to be looking, find your notes there, at discovering your shape for ministry. Job 10:8a says, "Your hand shaped me and made me." God began shaping us before we were ever born. He's been molding us for ministry ever since we were born. Everything that we've done is leading up to this time. Psalms 139:14 and 16 say, "I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." God already knows what we're going to do with our lives. And you're here fulfilling that. So, you do have the option of saying no to God, but it's not a good option. So we need to take a look at our lives and see where we are in it and how we are imitating Jesus. Now, ministry is not like architecture. In architecture, generally, form follows the function. You decide what the function of the building is going to be, and then you design the building for that. If you want a gym, you don't put a bunch of offices there. Okay? If you want a gym, you have a big open area. You've designed it specifically for that. In ministry, though, we believe that function follows form. Exact opposite. Rather than looking at what it's going to do and then getting there, we go ahead and look at where we already are. What are our personality traits? What are the things that we already are gifted in? What are the things we are doing now? And try to fit that into the ministry rather than remaking ourselves. We don't believe that remaking ourselves is really the best way to do ministry. That doesn't mean you stay in your comfort zone. I'm not at all comfortable up here, but it's something that I believe in. So I'm, willing to do it. You've got to step out of your comfort zone, but that doesn't mean you stay out of your comfort zone all the time. We want to stretch, we want to grow, and sometimes the best ministries are something we are uncomfortable with. But those are generally short term. For your long-term ministries, we want you to look at what you are really made up of, and then get the ministry that matches you so that you're not in that uncomfortable zone all the time. Now, last week I told you what shape stood for. You'll each one get one of these little shape booklets here in a minute. You remember what the S in shape stood for? Spiritual. It stands for your spiritual gifts, those things that God has gifted you to do. And most of you have taken the spiritual gift survey. If you haven't, some of you gave it to me tonight. I'll get Cindy to score those. If you haven't already taken it, you found out that it's online. And you can actually go to the manchesterfbc.com website and fill out that little questionnaire online, and then it gets emailed over to Cindy, and she takes care of it from there. So any of you that haven't done it yet, you can either get the forms from me, or you can go on over and do it online. But spiritual gifts, very important. What was the H?
Heart.
Our heart. What do you have a heart for? What do you love to do? What makes your blood tick? Your blood boil or your heart tick? What gets you going? The A is a little harder.
Activity.
Your abilities. Those talents that you have, the things that you already know how to